Hi everyone, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University.
Today we'll be teaching you how to play Monster Pit, game designed by Nick Seddon and Aaron West and published by Elsevier.
Let's get to the game.
In Monster Pit, the Citadel is at threat from a fearsome monster who has just emerged from the pit and is advancing on the gates. In this cooperative game, the captains of the Citadel work together to gain the resources they need and launch attacks against the monster. If the monster is defeated before it reaches the gates of the Citadel, then the players win the game. Monster Pit can play in two modes: a fully cooperative mode where the monster is controlled by the game, and a one versus many mode where one player controls the monster. We'll take you through the fully cooperative rules first. To set up, lay out the board and then place a different location rune onto each of the 6 locations. You'll use these to randomly identify locations through the game with this die. Choose a monster board. You can use its hard or easy side, and set its starting statistics. Its number of health is based on this tracker here. In this case, it would be 4 health per player in the game, or 8 if you were playing solo. And the dice depicted here go onto the dice track. So here it's 1 white, 1 yellow, and 1 red. These icons in the bottom left corner give you another way to increase the difficulty further if you want. In this case, you would use 3 white skull abilities that make the monster more powerful. Take the monster's disc and place it at the start of the monster's track. Each player takes the 2 matching pieces of an outpost board, and these can go on the A or B sides. In the bottom middle, place a captain on its uninjured side, and then take its matching disc and put it on the bridge nearest the side of the table you're sitting. Choose a first player who takes the King's Messenger token and place the matching card on any one of the 6 outpost spaces on the defensive side of your board. Shuffle and place the game's 9 decks of cards. Find the Tavern deck, which has 3 buildings printed on it, and split it into 3 even piles. For each card depicting 1 or more buildings and no cost price, flip the top card face up. Leave all others face down. These 9 decks all relate to actions you can take at the depicted buildings. These 2 drive the monster's actions. Find all the green tiles depicting the fountain and place them into the cloth bag. Keep all the other components nearby, including creature and building tokens, hearts, armory tokens, blue, green and white gems, and the coins, gold worth 1 and platinum 10. You're now ready to play. Monster Pit is played in rounds, and each round is played in 4 phases indicated by these circles. First the morning phase, then the midday phase, then twilight, then night. In the morning phase, each player makes a progress roll, gaining money income for good results and advancing the monster for bad ones. In the midday phase, each player moves to one of the 6 districts in the Citadel and may then take an action at every building within that district. This is when players will build up their abilities and attack the monster. Third is the twilight phase. The monster will make a roll and then have a negative effect against the players. And fourth is the night phase, where you'll reset for the next round and draw and resolve 1 encounter card. So now let's have a look at each phase in detail. First is the morning phase. Here each player, or captain, must make a progress roll, starting with the first player or lead captain and going clockwise around the table. Form your dice pool by taking dice matching all of the cards on your outpost board. If you have 8 or fewer dice, then you'll roll all of these for your progress roll. If you have more than 8, then choose 8. For the players, white dice are better than yellow, which are better than red. So here I would leave one of the 2 red dice behind and roll these 8 dice. On the red, white and yellow dice, there are 2 main results: captain and monster. On the white dice, the captain can be enchanted, and on the red dice, the monster can be enchanted. For any enchanted roll, count its result and then roll again until you get a non-enchanted result. So here I have 5 captain and 3 monster, but must re-roll both of these. I get another of each, so my total roll is 6 captain and 4 monster. For each captain, that player gains 1 gold coin. For each monster, advance the monster 1 step around the track. If your initial roll has all symbols the same, ignoring any enchanted icons, this is a royal roll and you gain a bonus 2 gold. Each captain has a rune ability, and if the player rolled that matching rune, then this ability can be used once during this round. This will not necessarily be during the morning phase, so you need to keep track if you've rolled the right rune. Some captains also have non-rune abilities, and these can be resolved once per round as well. Second is the midday phase, and this is resolved in 2 parts. First, moving captains, and second, taking actions. When moving captains, starting with the lead captain, each player will choose a new location for their captain to visit within the Citadel. In the first round, you'll move from your starting bridge to any district, while in all subsequent rounds, each player must move to a different district to the one they are in the previous round. Each district, including those with these extra spaces below, can accommodate at most 2 captains. Once all captains have chosen a district, now you can resolve the actions in whichever order you want. Each captain may perform 1 action in each of the buildings in their district, and this can be either to use the building or to fight a creature there if there's one present. Additionally, captains in the same district may make exchanges between each other, giving each other gold or item cards or any character cards at a cost of 3 gold each paid to the supply. There's a total of 17 different buildings on the board in 6 districts. First is the Market District, which contains 4 buildings, the Alchemist and 3 taverns. Each tavern corresponds to one of the tavern decks, and your action at a tavern is to recruit the character from that deck. Pay the coin cost printed in the top right corner of the card, add it to your outpost board, then reveal the next card. If you don't like the options, then once per round per captain, you can pay 1 gold to return 1 to the bottom of its deck and reveal the next one. In most cases, when you gain a character, you will add it to an empty slot on your outpost board. If it is an attacking character, then it must go on the attacking side of your outpost, that is the left 6 spaces. If defensive, it must go into the right 6, and if it gives you a choice, then you can go on either side. The second icon shows you the type of character, for example, construct or fighter, and the bottom shows you its class and which deck it's from. The bottom right shows you which dice this character will grant you in rolls, and there's also a special ability down the bottom. Each slot has an associated rune icon, and if your character has a rune ability, then this resolves only if it's in the matching slot. These are also used to allow some enemies to attack random slots on your boards. If you gain a character but cannot or don't wish to add it to your outpost board, then keep it beside your board in an area called your reserve. You'll have to take another action later to move it to your outpost. Finally, some character cards have exclamation mark icons, and these represent abilities which resolve immediately when the card is revealed. These generally immediately join specific captains for free. At the Alchemist, you can spend 3 gold to buy an alchemy stone. At any point during the game, you can spend an alchemy stone, removing it from the game entirely, to re-roll all the dice in any one roll, whether that be a player roll or a monster roll. The Great Hall has 2 buildings, the Town Hall and Stables. At the Town Hall, you can purchase a face-up item, and at the Stables, you can purchase a face-up mount. Once per round, you can pay a coin to reveal 2 more items, or to reveal 1 more mount. If, following your purchase, no more face-up cards remain of that type, reveal one new one. Most items and mounts show this icon here, which means you'll equip them to a character. This can include the cards you picked up from the tavern or your captain itself. Each character can hold at most 2 items and at most 1 mount. All abilities on those cards apply to that character, and all dice add to that character's contribution to the dice pool, with the exception that mount dice do not contribute to the morning phase roll. An item with this icon is an exception to the rule. This is not attached to a character and must take up a space on your outpost board. The City Watch has 3 buildings: the gate, the statue, and the barracks. In the barracks, you'll pay 2 gold to recruit the top soldier from the barracks deck face down. Soldiers are another type of character. They can be added to your outpost board and equipped with items and mounts in the same way as those you got from the tavern. Alternatively, for free, you can redeploy, and this is your only opportunity to move characters into different slots around your outpost board or bring them in from your reserve. At the Citadel Gate, your action is to attack the monster. You venture out into the world, and regardless of where the monster is on this track, you will launch an attack. Your attack dice pool comes from the dice on your captain and on the characters on the left-hand side of your outpost only. As in the progress roll, you have a maximum of 8 and must choose only 8 if you have more. The monster defends with dice as tracked on these 3 tracks here. So in this case, 3 red, 3 yellow, and 2 white. The monster has a maximum based on this value here, and always chooses red before yellow before white. You'll roll the dice for each side, and then you'll add up only the captain results on the captain dice, and only the monster results on the monster dice. Here it was 6 captain with the re-rolled enchantment, and 4 monster. If the captain exceeds the monster, deal 1 damage to the monster. If there are at least 3 more captains than monsters, it's a critical hit and you'll do a 2nd damage. If there was a tie, then the monster wins, and the player must injure one of the characters who was involved in the attack for the captain. Injuring a character flips it over, and means that that character's dice and abilities, as well as those on its item, cannot be used until that character's healed. The captain itself can also be injured. If there were more monsters than captains, then the monsters have a decisive win. This time one of the characters involved in the attack must be sacrificed, that is, removed from the game entirely. In both monster win cases, if you can't resolve that penalty, then make sure the captain is injured, and burn the Citadel, discarding 1 card and 1 token from every Citadel deck in the game. This permanently reduces your number of resources available. The last option at City Watch is to visit the statue, and this is a good last-ditch way to try to prevent the monster from ending the game. First, sacrifice a character from your outpost board. Then destroy the deck or decks that character came from. This is gone from the game forever, never to be used again. You can only do this 3 times, and you'll track that here. Finally, as the benefit, you'll skip this round's Twilight phase completely. There are 2 buildings in the Mystics Quarter, the Dwarven Grotto and the Sanctuary. At the Sanctuary, there are 2 different options you can take. Firstly, you can recruit a Sanctuary character. Pay 3 gold and take the top card from the Sanctuary deck. Any characters gained are added to your outpost board in the usual way. In a few cases, you'll gain a hero or an outlaw who behaves in the same way as the equivalent character from the tavern. But in most cases, you'll gain a wizard. A wizard may be used at any time except while the monster is moving forward, and the primary effect is to move the monster backwards. Some wizards also have additional effects. Wizards are weak, so if you're going to use them for their effect, they must be escorted by either a soldier or a hero. choose the escort and then roll 1 white die. And on a monster, the escort fails to survive and is removed from the game. Either way, you still get to resolve the wizard's effect. In some cases, it will join your outpost board and be treated like any other character. Your other option at the Sanctuary is to pay 3 gold to visit the White Mage Healing. Roll the black rune die and then resolve the ability in the corresponding row. This typically involves healing, letting you flip an injured character back to the face-up side. At the Dwarven Grotto, you'll refer to the other column of that same table, roll the black rune die, and then gain the benefits shown. This is one of the major ways to get coins if you don't get them during the morning phase. It's also your main place to gain green gems. There are 3 buildings at the southern gate: the Eyrie, the Stone Church, and the Watchtower. At the Eyrie, you'll pay 4 gold to recruit the top card face down from the Wyvern deck. Wyverns are added to your outpost board in the usual way, but they don't count as characters, and they can't hold items or mounts. Instead, each has a once-off ability, and you'll resolve it at the time of your choice and then remove the card from the game. Visiting the Stone Church costs 4 gold, and you have 2 options. You can either gain a blue gem, this is the main place you'll get these, or roll 1 white die. If you roll a captain result of any type, you can reduce one of the monster's die trackers and increase an adjacent one. The Watchtower is the only other place other than the Citadel Gate where you can go to attack the monster. The Watchtower can only be used once per round, so move your marker down to cover this space when you've done it. And it can only be used if no player has made or will later make an attack from the Citadel Gate this round. The final district is the Royal Keep, which contains the King's Keep, the Fountain, and the Armoury. At the Armoury, pay 4 gold to take an Armoury token. You can use this to upgrade any 1 die on your captain or one of your characters. At the Fountain, pay between 1 and 3 gold and draw that many Fountain Wish tokens out of the bag. Look through them, choose the one you wish to keep, and return any others back to the bag. You may at any point spend the token you kept, referring to this table to show you what benefit you gain, and then remove it from the game. Finally, at the King's Keep, draw the top quest card. These are powerful but not very flexible. On your next turn, you must choose to go to the locations shown here and resolve the ability printed under quest. As long as you do, you gain the benefit printed in the reward part of the card before removing it from the game. If you choose not to complete your quest on the next round, you still remove it and injure one of your characters. The king is most displeased. The last action you might do in the midday phase is to attack a creature, and these are cards which will come into play as a result of the monster and encounters decks. Creatures generally stop structures being used for their main purposes. These combats resolve in much the same way as fighting the monster. You'll gather your dice pool, and the card will tell you what the monster's dice pool is. A creature has as much health as shown here. When you deal hits, either track them using heart counters or by flipping the creature to its damaged side. And every point of damage you do grants you the reward shown beneath its health. Third is the Twilight phase, and here the monster will make a roll. Gather the monster's dice pool in the same way as combat, respecting the dice limit, and then roll the dice and count up the total number of monster results. Then resolve the corresponding effect. This icon advances the monster marker around the track. This icon results in one monster card being drawn and resolved. When playing the fully cooperative game, you'll resolve the text in this darker box. These have a variety of effects, often randomized by the location or rune dice, and could add creatures to the board, force you to block locations, and many more. Some effects result in attacking the captains. This is similar to the captains attacking the monsters with two exceptions. Firstly, the captain's dice pool comes from the captain and the defensive half of the outpost. And second, if the captain defeats the monster suffers no wounds. There are some other textual abilities which will vary from monster to monster. Note as well each monster's general abilities, which resolve in various phases. Fourth is the night phase. First, you'll refresh the top card on each of the decks that has a visible card. And remember, this may trigger an immediate effect. Lead captain rotates one step clockwise, as does the King's Messenger, who always belongs to the lead captain. Likewise, any other abilities showing night phase are resolved now. Finally, draw and resolve one encounter card. These could be events which are resolved immediately or later in the next round, or they could be creatures or other characters who get added to the board. Many, but not all of these, are bad for the players. Continue playing rounds in this way until one of two things happens. If the monster token reaches the end of this track, then the citadel is destroyed and the players lose. If the monster's health reaches 0, then the citadel is saved and the players win. Monster Pit can be played as a one versus many encounter, with one player taking control of the monster. To set up, the monster player takes control of the monster deck and draws 2 cards into a face-down hand that is visible to the monster player but not to the others. The monster also starts with 3 gold. Ignore the text in the grey box. What matters in this mode is the text in the light box and the number, which represents the gold cost for the monster player to play this card. The monster can pay the cost and play a card at any time in order to disrupt the players. Most of the monster's hand and money management occurs during the morning and midday phases. In the morning phase, the monster may discard up to 2 cards from hand and then gains money equal to the lower cost card discarded. Then, at the start of the midday phase, the monster draws up to 4 cards. The monster player still resolves a Twilight phase roll as normal and does the resolution for any creatures who have abilities. But the monster player does get to make some choices which would otherwise have been randomized by the game. In particular, any effect where the target was the lead captain is now a captain of the monster player's choice. And for any encounter effect which would usually be resolved by rolling the location dice, the monster player now gets to choose the location. And that's how to play Monster Pit. We hope you enjoyed this video.
If you find this video useful, please help us. Hit that like button, subscribe and hit the bell. I'm also on Instagram. Find me there.
Comments, suggestions and feedback are all welcome in the comments section below.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.